Coming up on Cronkite NewsWatch,
we take a look at the rise in obesity in Arizona and the different ways it impacts lives.
And we learn about programs across the state for all different ages that aim to prevent obesity and promote a healthy lifestyle.
in-depth, insightful, innovative. Cronkite NewsWatch starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite NewsWatch. I'm Joe Bizaccia.
And I'm Asia Hood. Thanks for joining us in this special as we explore obesity in Arizona.
According to a recent study by the CDC, nearly 1/3 of U.S. adults are now considered obese. 13 states have obesity rates above 30%, and every state is above 20%. In 1980, no state was above 15%. In 2000, no state was above 25%. And in 2007, only Mississippi was above 30%.
And in Arizona, those numbers aren't any better. The adult obesity rate is 26%, up from 20% in 2003 and 11% in 1990. The numbers are continuing to rise and the problem is continuing to grow.
So what does it mean to be obese? How is that defined? By taking your height and your weight, you get the body mass index. For most people, BMI calculates the amount of total body fat.
A BMI of 25 to 29.9 is considered overweight, and a BMI of 30 or higher is obese.
For those diagnosed obese, what kind of impact does that have on your life? Reporter Katie Curry takes a look at the cost not only to your wallet, but to your health.
Gail Denny and her trainer Tara Marriott have more in common than you might think. They've both lost a lot of weight.
I went up to about 200 pounds, where I'm 110 now.
I'm down right now 46 pounds, but it's a work in progress.
The physical benefits are obvious, but there's other not so obvious benefits.
The evidence shows that someone who is classified as living with obesity is spending over $3,000 more in health-related costs.
Gail saw the impact firsthand. Before losing weight, she had to pay for cholesterol medication, regular visits to the doctor, among other things.
I just wound up with different problems with my feet, so I couldn't walk. So I was winding up getting cortisone shots in my feet.
We're not only accumulating fat on our skeleton and our muscle, we're actually accumulating fat internally around our heart and around our important organs.
And that accumulation causes illnesses that are some of the most costly to treat, like diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. For Gail and Tara, avoiding these health issues,
I was lucky I had dodged that bullet.
and the cost that comes with them, meant changing their lifestyle.
I walk to the bank, I walk to the church, I walk to grocery store, you name it. I was walking 2-3 times a day.
I'm learning to make better choices about what I put in my mouth. I still mess up. I'm not perfect.
Not perfect, but on her way. In Phoenix, Katie Curry, Cronkite News.
A lifestyle change is the best way to get on track to improving your health, and seeking medical help can make that easier.
With the passing of the new health care law, the president gave messages of hope to those seeking medical attention to combat obesity.
Our DC reporter Shane Dwyer takes a closer look to exactly what's covered in the Affordable Care Act.
Obesity screening and prevention is one of the main things included in President Obama's Affordable Care Act. And while the experts agree that the baseline screenings are a great place to start, they also say that they aren't enough.
This is progress that we're making, and we have a long way to go.
As an advocate for the National Obesity Society, Ted Kyle is glad to see that America's obesity issue is being tackled on a national level. The Affordable Care Act requires insurers to cover preventive measures and obesity screenings with no copay, but it has a major shortfall.
It only applies in the primary care setting, and it leaves out treatment of obesity by skilled clinicians.
And according to Kyle, since your family doctor is not an expert in obesity, he or she is more likely to give you a general body mass index reading, which is nothing more than plotting your height against your weight on a chart, rather than data you can actually use.
Registered dietitians truly are the nation's nutrition experts. We have 4-year degrees in nutrition, dietetics, and foods. Most registered dietitians have a master's degree. We know what we're doing.
But access to those specialists is not required in the Affordable Care Act, which means if you do want to see one and your insurance doesn't cover it, you would be paying out of pocket just like you were before Obamacare. A spokeswoman for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona said in an email that while all plans will meet the Obamacare obesity screening mandate, it would be up to the patient's primary care physician to determine the need for those services and to what level case by case. And in an email from Aetna, a spokeswoman said that many plans do have limitations or exclusions, but for those that include the coverage, we do consider many items medically necessary and therefore covered. For a person dealing with obesity, the help of a specialist could be the missing link to their lifestyle goals.
A skilled obesity provider would give you a much more comprehensive assessment looking at waist circumference and measures of adiposity, looking at your metabolic health.
Now, both experts that I spoke to agreed, before any changes will be made, Americans need to change the way they think about obesity and those who are obese. One law from Washington isn't going to make the problem go away. From the White House in Washington, D.C., I'm Shane Dwyer, Cronkite News.
Coming up on NewsWatch.
From toddlers to elders and everyone in between, we'll show you programs across the state helping to get people up and moving.
My children are growing and it's so amazing how quick they change. Has PBS made me a better father? The answer is yes. I mean, believe me, kids don't come with instructions. Sometimes you face those moments, it's like, what do I do? And you will be watching PBS Kids and thinking, wow, very wise. Finally, I got the answer. And that's the kind of TV we need to be supporting today.
We all know how important physical activity is in obesity prevention, but how early can you start? Reporter Marcus Espinoza takes a look at one Valley gym that has its students up and bouncing before some of them can even talk.
They crawl, they bounce, and they run. Today, everyone's a gymnast, no matter what the age.
Yeah, I definitely like it. We have a good time.
It's called Baby Gymnastics, and it's a free 30-minute class offered every Wednesday at Arizona Sunrays Gymnastics Center in Phoenix. While it may be great to have fun, promoting a healthy lifestyle is on the mind of parents today, and Natasha Lynch is no exception.
Teach your kids how to be healthy, eat healthy, all from the beginning, so there's no confliction of, not healthy food. And if you just teach them from early, then they really don't know how to eat any other way.
A message program coordinator, Janine McCarthy, fully supports.
To have a place to play safely with the child and to have it be low-key, stress-free, and yes, to get them active at a very young age, because we are extremely concerned about childhood obesity.
However, some might have the question, how young is too young to start a healthy lifestyle for your child? Pediatrician Catherine Lichstein believes it's never too early to start.
There isn't a defined time in a child's life to begin exercising. I feel that physical activity should be incorporated from the very beginning.
Natasha appreciates the healthy lifestyle class like this promotes, but she appreciates the time she gets to spend with her child most of all.
They get to interact with other children and have some fun, and also it's fun time for you and your kid to kind of bond and everything.
In Phoenix, Marcus Espinoza, Cronkite News.
Programs like these baby gymnastics classes are popping up all over the state. Our reporter Shanae Shocker went up north to a medical center that's seeing its investment in fighting childhood obesity really pay off.
I just don't think I was very good at running, and people would make fun of me.
Jack Madison's story doesn't come as a surprise when
we know that over 30% of our kids these days are overweight and obese.
But what the Flagstaff Medical Center is doing is surprising. The medical center has invested nearly $4 million into a program called Fit Kids of Arizona that began in 2009.
I've never in my life seen an organization take such strides and put their money where their mouth is.
Prior to implementing Fit Kids in school, elementary children were getting just 34 minutes a week of structured physical activity. Now in its second year working with the schools, students are getting nearly an hour a day doing activities like ballet, karate, or riding a roller coaster.
What we felt was once we started that change, we didn't want to stop.
And they haven't. The program has expanded into 17 schools and counting across northern Arizona, while the completely subsidized Fit Kids Clinic had 310 new referrals to the program in just the last year.
It's unprecedented. You can't name another organization in the United States of America, some hospital that's done this, and they're doing it the way they're doing it here.
61% of the kids in the clinic experience an increase in their cardio health by using cool new gadgets and also traditional fitness techniques. But the money is bringing these children more than cool gadgets and weight loss. Children who struggle to run one lap are now participating in 5K runs, and graduates of the program like Jack leave with more than a healthier lifestyle.
He's playing quarterback for a football team. These are the kind of things I think that the programs help the kids achieve that maybe they could never have achieved before.
It means a lot because I know I accomplished something here.
Set, go, cut!
In Flagstaff, Shanae Shocker, Cronkite News.
While Fit Kids of Arizona continues to grow, some schools have had to cut back, leaving kids spending less time on playgrounds like this. Our reporter Marissa Scott went to one elementary school that's working with ASU to get their kids up and on their feet.
Unlike some parents, Melanie McCormick fears that her children spend too much time in here and not enough time on the playground.
Too much time is too much time.
McCormick, a mom of 4 with 2 in Conley Elementary, knows that kids like to keep moving.
Their attention spans when they're smaller are already short as it is.
And to conquer that problem, Arizona State University professors and students are researching ways to keep kids active inside and outside a classroom. A program called Ready for Recess provides video tutorials that give teachers ideas for different activities.
Recess is also not offered every day of the week. Sometimes it's only offered for 10 minutes, one time a day, which isn't nearly enough for those children to get a break from the classroom.
Rauder says that students should be outside for at least 60 minutes.
But weather can play a huge factor. Rain or shine, Valley teachers and parents are trying to find ways to maximize the benefits of recess indoors.
Despite the weather, Chandler administrators know they need to keep students active to keep them out of trouble.
It has a dramatic impact on learning, and that's what the research is showing us, is that physical activity and exercise really does impact academic progress.
So administrators and parents hope that these tutorials will get students up and out of their seats. In Chandler, I'm Marissa Scott, Cronkite News.
While there's no mandate on how much time kids have to spend at recess, parents and teachers are trying to add more activities to gyms and classrooms throughout the day. So, we've seen kids and babies get exercise, but what about those in the later stages of life? Our reporter Ryan Foote went to a gym in Flagstaff that caters to the more mature.
Very nice. Extend your arms.
Everyone doesn't have the motivation to exercise.
I'm a natural born couch potato myself. I waited till the nth degree before I started working out.
Retired nurse Jane Johnson is 73 and started working out at Truly Fit more than 5 years ago. Battling depression and unhappy with her medication's results, she looked for a new solution.
The first day I was in, the first day I lifted that first weight, I felt it was either God or endorphins rush through me, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do this the rest of my life. Ribs down.
Karen Anderson worked in the fitness industry for over 31 years, including teaching at several universities, and was formerly the youth nutritionist for Coconino County. But she had a passion to start something new.
There you go.
A gym.
My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, I sat him down and I said, I think I'm going to quit the county and I'm going to start training women in small groups. And he was like, are you crazy? You know.
It started small, but was clear
Very
from the
nice.
beginning there was an increasing demand for a gym like hers, a gym that caters to the more mature.
We've built from starting with 3 groups of 6. I have 80 women now.
Karen understands that for most of her clients, it might be the first time they've actually worked out with weights in years or ever. But to her, it's no problem because it's all about laying down a strong foundation.
One of the mistakes older people make is they don't do anything with their agility, their power, and their strength.
And family bragging rights are always a plus.
My oldest grandchild is in college. She said, oh, Grandma, you're so buff.
And what grandparent doesn't love the sound of that?
Was anyone sore?
Yes.
All right.
In Flagstaff, I'm Ryan Foote, Cronkite News.
Doctors suggest at least 30 minutes of physical activity each and every day. And while exercising helps prevent weight gain and maintain weight loss, your diet has a greater effect on your health as a whole. Reporter Tara Molina takes a look at one Valley school that's having fun and getting dirty while planting the seeds for a healthy diet.
Getting your hands and feet dirty is part of being a kid.
And at this North Phoenix school, it's also part of the school day.
I love all of it.
The garden is teaching kids about where their food comes from while encouraging a healthier and more natural diet.
Research has shown that students who understand where their food comes from has a certain relationship with that food, and they're more likely to consume it, which is what we all want.
Miss Mason's class at Manzanita Elementary School is growing everything from carrots to oranges.
We dig a hole and plant them. We wait for them to grow, and then she lets us eat them.
Margot Mason started the garden a few years ago and incorporates it into her speech class. She also runs the garden club.
The kids just are very excited to see a sugar snap pea growing on the vine here, and then when they see it in the lunch line, they make that connection because this is an urban school and they don't automatically know where food comes from.
Not every harvest has been a success.
We tried to grow watermelon, but it didn't work out.
But Jacob loves the school garden so much, he brought some seeds home and started his own.
He'll come home and tell me, oh, there's new seeds this year.
And these seeds are growing more than just plants. They're growing healthy habits.
You offer a child something healthy and it tastes good, they'll like it. It's just about offering it and having it available.
In Phoenix, Tara Molina, Cronkite News.
After growing those healthy snacks, it's important to know how to turn plants like these into a meal. I visited one school in Scottsdale that's getting people of all ages into the kitchen to make meals that are nutritious and delicious.
We lost that one.
It's not always easy, but cooking your own meal is almost always better than fast food, if you know how to cook.
For me, dinner is milk and cereal or Subway.
Sarah and Arlen Bach are a mother and daughter learning to cook. And the Bachs aren't alone. A Harris Research poll shows that 11% of Americans rarely or never cook dinner for themselves, and they're usually between the ages of 18 and 33. Sweet Basil Cooking School in Scottsdale offers classes that allows parents and kids to bond while teaching a fading craft.
What's nice too is when you have a child and a parent come, because they're both learning. They're both at the same point. The father doesn't know how to do it, neither does the son. It's fun. It's more fun than I thought it would be.
In fact, it's easy to incorporate more fresh vegetables and grains when you cook for yourself.
I think it'll be a lot healthier, obviously. I'll be learning, like here, I'm learning how to make it all from scratch.
Yeah, eating healthy.
Yeah, and eating healthy.
Cook food, then you can eat healthy.
Chef Linda Martin,
so just give it a smash,
teaches at Sweet Basil 4 days a week.
I think also that when you're really busy, you don't know how to cook, you just reach for the quickest, easiest thing to eat. You're hungry and you just reach for the quickest thing, and usually it's something that's not healthy.
Now Sarah Bach will reach for pots and pans instead of a to-go bag.
Coming up on NewsWatch.
A new study by the Mayo Clinic aims to help Hispanics struggling with obesity and diabetes.
In medical school, doctors learn all kinds of things, but what about talking to patients about their weight?
When you support your PBS station, you're supporting possibilities. You're making sure there's a place for independent voices. You're opening children's minds. And you're giving everyone the chance to find inspiration from the arts. To discover more, be more. Support possibilities. Support your PBS station.
Type 1 diabetes appears in 5 to 10% of all diagnosed cases and usually appears in childhood and adolescence.
Type 1 diabetes makes staying healthy much more challenging. Reporter Jamie Purvis shows us how this diagnosis changes lifestyles.
It's a 24/7 disease. There is there's not a pause button. There is not a stop, I'll do better tomorrow.
Marian Tetlow was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when she was 12 years old, and her family had no idea what this meant.
We were not familiar with it. My dad thought only older people, usually obese people, got diabetes, and I did not fit the profile at all, so it was a little bit stunning for all of us.
So all of a sudden they had to figure out how to keep those blood sugar levels stable. Taking insulin was one way, but when the swing hit, she had to eat carbs and sugars as well, which can sometimes make it harder to keep a healthy weight.
They have to eat extra carbs and calories to keep their blood sugar normal, not because they're hungry or because they need the nutrition, but just to normalize the blood sugar.
As a young girl, Tetlow needed to balance being a kid and adjust to a new life with diabetes.
If I could have a glass of orange juice versus a couple of cookies, I'd much rather have at one point in time, I'd much rather have had the cookies.
As she grew up, she found that even though she was exercising, she still had a hard time.
I struggled in high school and college quite a bit. I was very healthy. My blood work said I was healthy, but I was eating the majority of my day.
The difference between a healthy person and a person with type 1 is that their bodies do not naturally make insulin, the hormone that keeps our blood sugars normal.
When people are using insulin, it can be a little more difficult to lose weight because it does tend to promote the fat cells to hold on to the fat stores.
After learning how type 1 diabetes worked with her body, Tetlow cut her amount of insulin, changed her diet, and continued to exercise. She got so healthy she was able to have a healthy daughter.
But if I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be there for her for the rest of her life.
Tetlow has learned how to manage her type 1 diabetes and now even works as a diabetes consultant and is able to teach others because of her experiences.
I take care of myself, I'm healthy, and so far I've never been limited in what I want to do with my life or my activities.
In Scottsdale, Jamie Purvis, Cronkite News.
1/3 of Arizona's population is Hispanic, and about 9% of the Hispanic population has diabetes. For those with the disease, living with obesity can be a struggle.
The Mayo Clinic teamed up with ASU to study metabolism, obesity, and diabetes in the Hispanic community. Reporter Kelly Anderson tells us how this study is helping those affected.
Daniel Solis likes to play baseball and goes to the gym often. Most people would never guess that he suffers from a medical condition.
On my 9th birthday, I was taken to the hospital and they found that I have diabetes.
After 14 years of living with type 1 diabetes, Solis says he doesn't fear his condition anymore. Monitoring his insulin levels is just part of his daily routine now.
I feel better now. I eat better now. I take better care of myself. But it helps to go to the doctor every 3 months.
Solis isn't alone. Hispanics have one of the highest rates of diabetes in the United States. That's why Mayo Clinic, Mountain Park Health Center, and Arizona State University have teamed up to try and find a solution. Samples taken at the Mountain Park Health Center are sent to a national biobank. That's where scientists then study the samples from the Latino patients.
We can connect gene sequences in their DNA with diseases that they're being diagnosed with.
Patients who have or are at risk of having diabetes or other cardiovascular diseases are then notified of their results.
The Mayo Clinic pays for the testing and lab services. On top of that, they offer a small compensation to motivate and thank patients for collaborating with us.
10% of the 200 patients already tested have been diagnosed with diabetes and are now able to get help. The hope is that by providing patients with an early diagnosis, they can get treatment and modify their lifestyles, much like Solis has.
I have the confidence that I can maintain myself.
In Phoenix, Kelly Anderson, Cronkite News.
Everyone knows how stressful it can be sitting right here, wondering what their doctor is going to say to them. But what about the doctor? Are they nervous about how they're going to talk to you? I took a look into the process behind doctors talking to patients about their weight.
It's a tough subject for most, but Dr. Slinkert says it's as easy as ABC.
Which is accept the patient for who they are. Balance, you want to be sure you're not just criticizing somebody, but you want to balance the corrective things that you're perhaps saying to them with compliments, and then just care about the patient.
With more than 1/3 of U.S. adults carrying around the title of obese, the University of Arizona Medical School has drastically changed its curriculum. In one course, they get a full week of instruction just on the doctor-patient relationship with respect to obesity.
I think we're pretty unique in the country in providing an entire week of obesity content for our students.
Part of that coursework is learning from professionals' experience.
How food intake affects obesity, exercise and physical activity, the psychological the behavioral and psychological aspects of it.
Students are already putting the lessons learned to use. Brandon Deason says much of his family is obese and he is trying to help them.
I was over at their house and I was looking through the pantry and the fridge and stuff. I'm like, oh, this stuff really isn't good for you. But it's always, we have other family members who come over and they like to snack on that stuff.
Students agree that part of the struggle is that critical conversation with doctors.
They could have gotten set on a better course rather than just continuing to put on a few extra pounds year after year after year.
Though doctors say it's not just the medical professional who does all the work.
They have to be motivated within themselves.
With professionals saying obesity is a growing concern, U of A has expanded the program from 2 sessions 3 years ago to the 11 sessions today. In Phoenix, Cassie Clapp, Cronkite News.
Playing sports is a great way to get in shape, but it's not always easy. I met with one Valley High School student who overcame mental and physical challenges to achieve his goals.
When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see the person I wanted to be.
Mike Keel has been big his whole life. Dating back to kindergarten, he was 105 pounds, and by 8th grade, he was 300 pounds.
Somebody's always down on you. You're too fat, you're too this, you're too that. You're too big, you're not, you're never going to amount to anything, you're always just going to be this fat person.
For years, he doubted his ability to lose the weight.
The best motivation anybody can have is to prove someone wrong.
And that's exactly what he did. 4 years of wrestling has him down over 80 pounds.
People haven't seen me for a while. They're like, what happened to you? Where's the rest of you?
It's those long nights of intense training that has Mike as one of the top contenders in the state.
Really dedicates himself on and off the mat and remains focused and remains mentally strong throughout the entire season and throughout the entire career as a wrestler.
And that dedication led him to the semifinals last year.
It was 9-8. He came in and he tried throwing me. I reversed it, threw him straight to his back and pinned him, and then everything just set into place. I was bawling my eyes out. I was so happy, and I can honestly say that was the greatest moment I've ever felt in my life.
And it's those moments that make his journey to losing weight well worth it.
He's going to be remembered as Big Mike. He's a leader. He's bigger. He's as large as life.
It was just I'm pretty much a walking proof of if you set your mind to anything, then you're going to be able to get it done.
Obesity is a complex issue, and we understand there is no simple solution.
For those seeking help, there are many different options, including those featured in this special.
That's it for Cronkite NewsWatch.
We hope you have a happy, healthy holiday weekend. Good night.